Hello lovely people, my name is Emma. Today I'm doing my December TBR, or just like end of the year reading plans. Sorry if I'm a little bit spacey today. I've been very under the weather over the past week. I've had a very nasty tattoo infection that's been healing, so if you do glimpse anything, it's on this arm or my forearm. If you do spot anything, don't worry, don't freak out, I know it's there. The first one we're going to talk about is the two books that I'm currently reading that will probably drift over from November into December. So one that I might get finished before the end of the month, it is I think the 26th or 27th of the day of filming. So one that I may get around to finishing is Rainbow Dust by Peter Marin. This is a non-fiction book looking at both butterflies and butterfly collecting and kind of the history of the butterflies specifically within Britain, and its kind of journey as a area of scientific inquiry and also as a hobby to study. I am using this for the prompt of sport for Nonfiction November because it very much became a very competitive world, butterfly collecting for a period of time. I'm enjoying it so far, but it can be a little bit dry in places, and I'm only like a few chapters in. I've got a decent chunk left to go, so I really don't know if I'm going to get it finished or not, and if I don't, then it's clearly going to drift into December. Another one that I am currently working my way through and can guarantee I will not get finished by the time December rolls around is Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. This I said I was going to try and get through, or at least start in Tome Topple. I did start it for Tome Topple. It's the only one of my TBR for Tome Topple that I attempted. I am 25% of the way through now. I'm really enjoying it, but it's a beast of a book. This is like 880 odd pages, so honestly if I can get it done by the end of the year, I'll be really impressed. This might be one that drifts from 2019 into 2020. I'll be completely fine with that. That's really not a problem. But yeah, so definitely going to be reading it all through December as well. Okay, so I've got some new things that I'm going to be reading. New stuff. So Amy from Amy Gets Lit, the wonderful lovely Amy, and I are bringing back some of our buddy reading. We've done it on this channel a few times before, and then you get like a corresponding video to the books that we buddy read where we ask each other questions. And we do actually have a book for Nonfiction November, which is Made, which we have both read, so that video will be coming out before the end of December at some point, fingers crossed. I forgot to put it in my TBR because we hadn't actually, I didn't forget, we hadn't agreed it at that point. But yeah, so we're going to read two books this month, a fiction and a non-fiction, because we basically couldn't pick. So our fiction is Kintu by Jennifer Nasubuga Mukumbi. That was bad. So this is a sci-fi, I'm pretty sure, set in Uganda, and it spans several different generations, and it's to do with a curse that plagues a family for generations. As I said, this is actually on my 5-star predictions list. There were a few in this list, and I put that video out in February, so I have 3 books left on it, all of which are going to be appearing in December's TBR. And if I don't get to them in December, I'm gonna definitely get to them in January, because I think a year is a good deadline for one of those videos, and I really need to get these things finished. Because this is in my 5-star predictions list, I obviously have very high hopes for it, and I think it would be really interesting reading it with Amy and seeing what she thinks about it. We've not really done a very strict sci-fi before, so this could be interesting. And the non-fiction that we're reading is The Squared Circle by David Shoemaker. This is about wrestling, and it's a collection of essays that look at wrestling and the cultural significance of wrestling, some of the stuff to do with the physicality of it, and I think from what I read from the blurb, it's looking at some of the like deaths linked to wrestling and the toll it has on a professional wrestler's body. Amy is very into wrestling. She watches a lot of it. I personally have watched almost no wrestling ever, but was really interested. I read Kurt Angle's autobiography, who's a very famous wrestler, back in like February time because of Andy, and loved it. One of my like new favorite non-fictions. Such a good book. But yeah, so because of that, I was talking to Amy about like what other good books about wrestling are out there. This is a world that I'm quite interested in, and she was like, well, I've been meaning to read this one, so why don't we give it a go. Looks really interesting. I think it's gonna be really fun seeing again what we take from it, from the mixture of like my complete naive, absolutely no idea about the wrestling world, and then Amy's very extensive knowledge about it. So I think that's going to be really interesting, and we will hopefully be doing a video on both of these as well at some point in the new year. So I said that I had a few books left from my 5-star predictions, so I'm just going to grab them here. The first one has appeared on numerous TBRs. I just need to read this bloody book, and that is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. How many times have I said I'm going to read this book? I just need to sit down and read The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. Like, this is getting absurd. So for those of you who don't know, this is a high fantasy. It is set in a world that is supposed to be, I think, North American influenced. It's supposed to be similarish to Game of Thrones, that kind of whole vibe. It is part of a series. He's won a bunch of awards. Ken Liu is very well known in the sci-fi circuit as being very, very good, and I've been meaning to get around to this book for now, probably coming on at least a year, maybe 2. So probably need to get around to it. I'm thinking, because again it's a big beefy boy, I've got some chunky ones this month. I'm thinking maybe it might be good over the Christmas season when I can kind of sit down and read like a good 3 or 4 hour kind of chunk. I think I'm just intimidated by the amount of world building. My brain's not really in that kind of a space right now, but yeah, I really need to give this a go. The other one that's left on that list is Positive by David Wellington. This is just classic zombies, a post-apocalyptic future kind of thing. It mentions road pirates and death cults and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. It is just gonna be like The Walking Dead, but in a book with its own kind of obviously internal logic and things. Again, I think it's gonna be really good fun, and I just need to sit down and get to it. So at some point I'm gonna read this either in December or January. Then just kind of a couple of other little extra ones in there. I need an audiobook for December, so I'm probably gonna listen to The Long Goodbye by Raymond Chandler. I put out a video that was authors that I wanted to revisit, which has kind of become unofficially authors I wanted to revisit in 2019 because I've either ticked them off or lost interest in them as an author over the past kind of, again, like nearly 12 months or so. So this is one of them, and I think he's the like last author that I actually still care about on that list. I've been meaning to get around to another Raymond Chandler for ages. Again, this is featured on a bunch of different TBRs. I mention him quite often, so this is one I'm going to go for because I have it on audiobook. I will probably be doing a few decent length drives around the Christmas season, going back home to visit family and things, and I always have an audiobook on the go, so this is going to be it on the trips to work when the weather is too nasty to be reading a book and walking. So yeah, so hopefully finally gonna get around to this one. For those of you who don't know, Raymond Chandler does like crime noir. He wrote in, I think, around the 50s, don't quote me on that. Again, like a really iconic crime writer and fantastic. In terms of my non-fiction November TBR, I do have the odd book still left over. I obviously haven't finished the entire TBR, but one that I haven't got around to that I still want to really prioritize is Cannibalism by Bill Shute. It turns out that Bill Shute is actually a fairly big non-fiction writer, and there were a few other ones of his books that have been featured semi-recently on some people's channels who read a lot of non-fiction that I really value their opinion of. Not this one in particular, but him in general as an author, and people were just raving very highly about him recently in some of the content I've been watching. So I was like, okay, I really need to prioritize this. This was a birthday present from my sister from this year, and I still haven't read either of the 2 books that she got me, but this is the one that I'm really keen on. And like off the back of reading about these butterflies, I'm kind of psyched about natural history at the moment, so I'm really vibing off of this. So again, hopefully I'm going to get to it in December. And then the final one is a bit of like a spur of the moment thing that I wasn't fully expecting. Basically my dad finished a book recently and has lent it to me, and he says he thinks that I'll really enjoy it, and that is The Timekeeper by Mitch Albom. Mitch Albom is like a fairly well-known writer. I read his 5 People You Meet in Heaven back at the beginning of the year. He's done Tuesdays with Maury, he's done a bunch of other fairly big name ones. He has a very like inspirational, slightly cliche, slightly overbearing with its emotions, but has its heart in the right place, feel good, think about the meaning of your life kind of vibe to who's writing. I don't know if that made any sense. I really enjoyed The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. I think you do have to be in the right kind of mindset for it, but they are cozy, lovely, warm hug type stories that he tends to specialise in, and The Timekeeper sounds like it's going to be no exception. It is about the inventor of the world's first clock, who is punished for trying to measure God's greatest gift. He's banished to a cave for eternity to hear the voices of all who come after him seeking more time. And then he has to do something lines of teaching a troubled teenage girl and a dying billionaire the true meaning of time. So like I say, it's going to be doing this very much like retrospective, consider the meaning of your life, what is important, etc, etc. It's the kind of thing that I think around the end of the year could be really interesting to read, especially with the like Christmas spirit kind of vibe. So this is the general gist of what yeah, so this is why I think it's gonna be really interesting. And like I say, my dad read it, lent it to me. He thinks I'm gonna enjoy it. He generally knows my tastes. Normally a good shout. So those are all the books that I'm planning on getting to before the end of the year. I've seen a lot of videos going around about like generally feeling very tense at the end of the year is coming up. I don't know if it's just because I'm sitting pretty because I managed to tick off all the like goals I wanted to make this year already. I've hit my Goodreads challenge like months ago. I have read all the non-fiction that I want to read and all the classics I wanted to read. I wanted to read 20 of each and I'm on like 23 of each. Yeah, generally, like I say, I've ticked off most of the like authors that I wanted to try and check out or recheck out, or I've either checked them out or I've lost its subsequent interest in them and decided that I'm not that bothered by their content anymore. So I'm feeling fairly happy with my reading. But I think people get really into the fact that it's the end of a year, and actually like time's arbitrary, guys. Like, we're just putting random demarcations into these things. Read what you want to read, and whilst these like yearly check-ins are good to kind of keep an eye on what you're doing if you are the kind of person who likes to read with purpose, and have very specific goals in that area. And don't get me wrong, I've got a bunch of goals for 2020 that I'm very psyched about, but like it's 100% okay if these things drift over. Like, the line between December and January is quite chill. It'll all be fine. Like, calm down. Twitter's a bit of a mess. Chill. But yeah, so mini lecture at the end aside, that's it from me. Have a wonderful reading week, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.